One chance to win. The winner and loser share the same event, but not the same memory. For Botvinnik, he reclaimed his throne by exercising his rematch clause. New challengers awaited a young player from Riga. Both will soon learn that dreams and nightmares vanish. Mikhail Tal, the winner of the 1959 Candidates Tournament in Yugoslavia, was at this point the youngest challenger to the World Chess Championship. From an early age, his gifts shined bright, and he learned to read at 3, did advanced arithmetics in his head at 5, and learned to speak 5 languages fluently. However, his mental gifts came with a downside of health problems. He had to endure constant surgeries for his illnesses that left him too weak to pursue physical sports and hobbies. Despite all of this, he managed to play piano and begin university at age 15. Tal's chess journey started when he lost his first match to his cousin. This made him interested in learning how to beat him, so when the opportunity arose, Tal, while going to sign up for drama lessons, came across a chess group. In 1957, Tal won the USSR Championship and was at that time the youngest player to do so. FIDE awarded him the title of Grand Master, even though he did not possess the previous titles as usually required. By 1958, Tal was recognized as the strongest player in the world, so undeniable to Botvinnik, the current champion, that he had to play him. Botvinnik knew that, quote, "At the time, everyone was fed up with me. How long could one person continue to occupy the throne?" Botvinnik was not of the same mind. He waged psychological warfare before the match by imposing outlandish terms to all the challengers. However, Tal accepted all, knowing that all he needed was to get him on the board. So on March 15th, at the Pushkin Theater, the magician went against the strategist.
In 1960, Mikhail Botvinnik had to play a match for the world title, but this time against Mikhail Tal. He was defending his title that he won against Vasily Smyslov. And in this game, Mikhail Tal decides to play with black pieces, a very sharp variant, the King's Indian defense, that usually leads to very sharp positions. Let's see the game. Botvinnik, as usual, opened with c4, knight f6, knight f3, g6, g3, bishop g7, bishop g2, and now short castle. In Here it's important to remember that in some of the match that Botvinnik played against Vasily Smyslov, Smyslov used the Indian defense setup, but with a Slav formation, c6 and d5. But in this case, Mikhail Tal decides to play the classical setup with d6. That this is known as the main line of the King's Indian defense. So knight c3, knight b7, preparing the central pawn advance with e5, or in some case also with c5, short castle e5, e4, and now c6. In this moment, black is keeping the tension and the possibility to trade pawns to open the diagonal for the bishop. In other hand, the capture of the pawn is going to create a backward pawn on d6. So all is about some kind of positional compensations. With this variant that Tal is playing, he's placing this pawn to square away of the knight, controlling the knight Jones and keeping the tension between the pawns in the center of the board, d4 and e5. So if white decides to advance, basically some squares start to be available for the knight because the pawn on d4 is controlling the knight on d7. So it will be really a different approach instead of the capture on d4. Now h3. This is a move that basically prepares bishop e3 and anticipate the knight jump to g4, chasing the bishop with the knight. And now he played queen b6. Those moves are quite logical. Botvinnik play h3, preparing bishop e3 to prevent the knight g4. And now, as a response, Mikhail Tal decides to play queen b6 to put pressure on the pawn on b2, because with the pressure on the pawn on b2, this bishop have to be bind to the defense of the pawn. So, well, finally, Bukbinik decides to close the center to start a positional battle. And okay, after the trade of pawns, Mikhail Tal opened the C file and start to try to realize on operations through this file. This position is very interesting and variable because the original pawn chain is aiming to the king side for black and for white to the queen side. So looking at the pawn structure, it's quite natural that white should try to play on the queen side and black on the king side. But in this game, we are going to see that really Mikhail Tal playing both flanks. For that reason, it's a very instructive and interesting game. Now, knight c5, taking this no is an output yet, but it's a kind of output. No, it's in enemy territory, but then the minor pieces here is being supported by the pawn from behind and cannot be removed because the queen is taking care of the b4 square. So now, 91, white is preparing to challenge the knight. So bishop d7, finally connecting the rooks. And okay, white have more space, but black, let's say, have a better development of the minor pieces. So knight d3, takes, rook f8, rook to the open file. And here, okay, white is still interested in the complete development, but the pawn is hanging. So for that reason, rook b1, protecting the pawn, and finally the bishop is ready to go out to connect the rooks. Knight h5, black start the game on the king side, bishop e3, and now here queen b4. Here it's important to mention that in case of a move like b4 to prepare bishop e3, now queen d4 may be very annoying because basically the idea is trade queens and remove the defender of the knight that is exposed in the open file. Also, this move is very risky because it's leaving the minor pieces without the support of the pawn from behind. Usually, when a piece is without the support of the pawn, that can be considered as a kind of tactical motive, even without the pieces completely hanging, because in this case, it's still being defended by the queen. But remember, the queen no is the best defender. So bishop e3, queen b4, queen e2, and now rook c4. Okay, Mikhail Tal take the invasion square and is preparing double rooks in the unique open file. So rook fc1, rook a8, king h2, and finally here f5. So black start the initiative on the king side, takes to enable the e4 square. In normal conditions, really, it's a good idea capture with the pawn to keep this central control. And this will be a kind of hanging pawns, not really hanging pawns because this is still defended by the base on d6. But in this case, the capture with the pawn no is possible because the knight is hanging. So Tal is forced to capture with the bishop, okay, fighting for the initiative, but at the same time, eventually the e4 square can be a good location for white. Usually, this is not the case because black have a lot of pieces controlling this square, so difficult for white block the e4 square with the knight. That would be really the ideal location for the knight. So rook a1, and now, well, a fantastic move, typical move by Tal, knight f4, creating a chaotic situation where it's very difficult kick the control in this kind of situations for white. Basically, the sacrifice of the minor pieces is more positional because the sniper, the bishop on g7 is being blocked by the central pawn. So the sacrifice of the knight will allow black recapture with the pawn, activating that square bishop in the long diagonal, and also taking the initiative and opening some lines against the king. For sure, the unique option for white is a second challenge, capturing, and after pawn takes, the bishop is under attack. The bishop at the moment don't have squares available. Okay, so he played bishop d2. Here it's important to say that a better option will be a3, attacking the queen, and after queen b3, bishop takes on a7. In this moment, the capture on a7 is also possible, but after queen a5, the bishop may be without squares. Okay? So that is a very risky variant. Well, Bogvinic played bishop d2, queen takes b2. Here, black have bishop d5. That would be an interesting move to consolidate the pawn structure and also threatening f3. Really, this will be a better version. Bishop d5, intermediate move, and after f3, queen takes on b2. But well, after the capture, okay, white playing rook a b1, attacking the queen. Here seems to be like the rook is hanging, but really is a exchange sacrifice in order to simplify a little bit. So, strong intermediate move by Mikhail Tal, f3. And with all those complex variations, finally, Paolini make a blunder, capturing the queen on b2. The strength of the pass pawn after the capture with the of the queen will be decisive. Here, a better variant will be bishop takes f3, take capture b1, rook takes, queen c2. Okay, and rook c1. In this variant, white managed to kick two minor pieces for the rook. Still, the technical phase is pretty difficult because basically white have four island of pawns. All the pawns are isolated, and really is a very difficult situation. Okay, to consolidate takes the advantage for sure. So in the game, after f3, Bogvinic decides to cut to the pawn on b2, and now after pawn takes, rook b3, defending the knight on c3 to kick the extra pieces. So now rook d4. Basically here, black is ready to remove this defender. Bishop is regrouped to the first rank. Now bishop d5 check, king to g1, bishop f4. The rook is in trouble. The bishop pair and the pawns are controlling a lot of squares here. So now, in case of something like rook a1, for example, basically black can sacrifice the rook here and get the invasion square with check and promote a new queen. So knight takes on e2, rook takes c1, knight takes, rook takes check. In this variant, finally, Mikhail Tal managed to restore the material balance of the minor pieces, but the balance is still an extra pawn for black, and also bishop pairs. So material and positional advantage. This bishop is being blocked by the central pawn. So we can say that now start the technical phase for black. Okay, bishop d5 to square away of the knight. F4, bishop f6. White take a pawn. Black do the same. Okay, and here the bishop pair is very active because the position is completely open. Bishop c4, increasing the pressure here on the pin. Some checks. And now Tal decides to start to push the pass. King f2, bishop h4 check. Now king d6. Black is preparing improve the location of the king, endgame principle. Finally, after knight g3, black can simplify everything to create a rook endgame with an extra pawn. So, and here after king d5, black is ready to advance the king together with, because the white king is too far and also is separate from this sector of the board because the rook is controlling this space. So now, basic pawn must be pushed. Okay, and after the check, Mikhail Tal improved the king and later promote the pawn. So Bogvinic resigned. With this result, finally, Mikhail Tal managed to become in the world champion. Really, at that moment, was the youngest world champion at that point.
On May 10th, 1960, Tal, at 23, was the youngest world champion at that point, being awarded by FIDE's vice president the gold medal and the laurel wreath of the world chess champion. Botvinnik executed his rematch clause and went to work arranging the details beneficial to him with FIDE and his president. At the 1960 Chess Olympiad, having had card difficulties, Tal arrived late to the meeting with FIDE's president and Botvinnik, who prior to his arrival had made the agreements to the match. Additionally, Tal, suffering from his lifelong renal issues, needed to postpone the match on advice from his doctor from Latvia. However, Botvinnik insisted he travel to Moscow to have a Russian doctor certify his illness. Tal relented and decided not to postpone the match. 2 weeks before the match, Tal suffered a mild heart attack. Still, he continued his chain-smoking 50 to 60 cigarettes a day and heavy drinking. Botvinnik, who had never played Tal until the championship, changed his playing style to keep Tal from recognizing his familiar style of play. He made the game slow wars of maneuvers and endgames, not the tactical battles that Tal loved. So, the board was set, the old line at 49 was set to face the young champion of 24.
In 1961, Mikhail Bogvinit have the right to face Mikhail Tal again for the rematch of the world title. So this time, Bogvinnik used his classical English opening. Mikhail Tal played knight f6, probably tending to play the king's Indian defense as usual. But a surprise for this game is that he played e6, looking for queen gambit decline settled or ninso Indian defense. So after b4, finally bishop b4. This is known as the ninso Indian defense. The idea is create a damage in the structure and to play with the knights against the bishop pair, but with a better pawn structure. So for this variant, Bogvinnik played a3, challenging the bishop, and in order to be consistent, black trade the minor pieces to create the damage in the structure. So now b6. This is a very logical move to start to place the pawns on that square. Also, this bishop is being blocked by this pawn structure, and black is looking for the development using the long diagonal. And here, f3. This is a thematic way to play against the bishop in the future location in the long diagonal, and also the pawn control the knight and prepare the central expansion with e4. So bishop a6, putting pressure on c4, e4, and now d5. This is probably the first controversial move of the game because white have the bishop pair and double pawn. So after d5, basically white can trade pawns, opening the position, getting rid of the unique weakness, and that position should be good. I think probably Mikhail Tal decision was based in kind of must-win situation, or he was just taking some risks to create unbalance. But here, probably a better move in the positional point of view maybe would be d6 in order to kick the pawns in the same color of the enemy bishop without opposition and trying to prepare kick the position block with c5 or d5. But well, he did d5, and after takes, here a potential compensation can be that the king it will be in the middle of the board and white won't be able to connect the rooks. But really, Bogvinnik managed to resolve this in a very good style. So after pawn takes, he played bishop g5. This move is very interesting. Probably e5 is a move that looks super logical, avoiding the tension, and also basically to win a tempo, attacking the knight. But on the other hand, the player that have the bishop really would like to trade pawns. So I think this option is very flexible and very clever, considering that he still have the bishop. After a6, when a4 checks, c6, and now he play bishop h4. After pawn takes, rook e1. Sacrifice a pawn in order to open the position, open the file, open the diagonal. So now g5, bishop f2 as far as possible, and now here Tal play queen e7. Here probably castle will be simpler to complete the development, but at the same time, in case of castle, there is some rupture points available with h4, and maybe the king can be in a risky situation there. So queen e7, knight e2. Here, Bogvinnik no is worried about the fact that Tal can capture the pawn on f3 because later any knight jump is going to open the file, okay, and preventing knight e4, blocking the file. So basically, white can win the queen. This pawn is untouchable. So b5, queen c2, and now queen takes on a3. At this point of the game, there is no return for Tal. Okay, he decides to play in a super sharp way, taking a lot of risks, and he continue in that move, grabbing the pawn on a3. Now all is about for white. All is about take advantage of the initiative and the better development. So h4. So white managed to find a way to hook the two rooks into the game without connector, without have to connect the rooks. So very good move. Takes with the less value pieces, putting pressure on the knight. Tal reinforced the knight, and now knight g3, increasing the pressure on the pawn. So white is ready to recover 1 pawn of the 2 pawn sacrifice before. Long castle, the capture with the knight to kick the file open. And after this, king f2. Finally, white managed to connect the rooks, and the king is pretty safe there. Knight takes, pawn takes, and here f6 really is the unique way to save the rook. And after rook a1, finally, white managed to capture the second pawn with a balanced situation, at least in the material point of view. So rook takes on a7, queen takes on a4. Okay, black wins a pawn again. But after this, all these trades, check, and bishop g3, increasing the pressure on the pin. So black have to move the king, now double rooks, defending the rook on the corner, and after rook c8, here white can win a pieces by force after check, okay, king b6, and bishop takes on b8. The bishop cannot be captured due to the checkmate here, rook 1 a6. So Mikhail Tal play b4, making room for the king to escape via b5, and after bishop d6, d6, pawn takes, bishop c5, check. Bogvinic managed to create an output for the minor pieces, and finally, with the minor pieces saved, he consolidated the position. After king b5, rook 1 a4, this way a situation for an unavoidable checkmate incoming. Rook b4 is incoming, and really black cannot do anything about that. Maybe sack the rook on d4, but losing even more material. So at this moment of the game, Mikhail Tal resigned, and Bogvinic managed to recover the title of the world champion.
Once again, Botvinnik reclaims his crown. However, it will be short-lived. As new challengers overtake him, so ends the period of the 1948 through 1961 World Chess Championship.